of the largest segments of the population in the United States consists of people over 65, and sadly, many seniors, vulnerable adults, are targets of crimes ranging from telemarketing fraud to patient abuse in nursing home facilities. This month we will talk with the Maryland Attorney General, Brian Frosh, about efforts to draw attention to the importance of fraud awareness as well as elder abuse for older adults. Well, welcome to Seniors Today. Nice to have you here. So we are all suffering from all this telemarketing.
Right.
What can we do about it?
Well, sadly, there's not a lot that the Attorney General's office can do about it. There is a do not call list. If you haven't signed up for it, sign up for it. But it doesn't include nonprofits. It doesn't include commercial businesses that you have relationships with. And the people who are trying to scam you don't pay any attention to it. So the best thing you can do is don't pick it up. If it's something you don't know,
hang up.
Hang up.
So tell us more about the elder abuse issue. I know that you're spending a lot of time on that. It's a very important thing for seniors. How do you see, what can we do about that one?
Well, two things. I mean, if we're talking about physical abuse, our office investigates and prosecutes people who abuse senior citizens, abuse elderly folks. But all of us are vulnerable to scams, and seniors are targeted like nobody else. My mom is 95 years old. She's at home all the time. Her eyesight ain't so good, or her hearing ain't so good, and she's bored. She'll pick up the phone and she'll listen to these folks. My advice to her and to everybody else is hang up on them. You know that there have been more than 800 million breaches of personal identifying information in the past 10 years in the United States. So
wow.
The odds are that you and I and everybody else has had their identity hacked.
I worry about that. I don't, you know.
Well, I personally, somebody filed tax returns in my name and my wife's name this last year. Yeah. And believe me, if they can do it to the Attorney General, they can do it to you.
Wow.
So we have to be very careful about who we give that information to. And you have to be on your guard all the time, on your computer, on your telephone, in the mail. Disregard anything that looks suspicious. One of the things, we just sent out a notice last week, I think, about car warranties. You'll get a very official looking mailer. Looks like it's coming from a government agency saying your car warranty is about to expire, you can renew it, and it's just $200. Those are not real. So, you know, if you get what I say to people all the time is, you did not win the lottery in Ireland. You know? Your grandson does not need you to send money somewhere so that he can get out of jail in Mexico. And that nice man from Nigeria is not going to put $1 million in your bank account. These are all common scams.
You know, on the identity theft issue, I've always thought about this Medicare card that we all carry that has our Social Security number on it, really.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's correct or not. I thought I read somewhere that Medicare is thinking of changing that card.
I've not heard that, but obviously you want to protect your Social Security card, your Social Security number is.
That's key to, you know.
Absolutely.
So there's also a lot of concern, I know, that you have and others have about the question of financial abuse, about how banks can help. And I think there was a law passed a couple of years ago about that.
So there are a couple of things that you can do to protect yourself in general. One is a security freeze, and this is, a credit freeze. If you're not planning to borrow money, then you call the credit agencies and say, look, freeze my credit. I'll let you know if I want to unfreeze it. That way nobody can take out a credit card in your name. You'll also find out if they're trying. And for your kids and grandkids, we passed a law a few years ago that allows parents to freeze the credit of their children. There is no reason in the world why an 11-year-old needs an American Express card. And so we advise everybody to freeze the credit of their kids until they reach the age of majority.
You have a website that people can go to?
We do. We have several booklets on the website that you can download. It's marylandattorneygeneral.gov. marylandattorneygeneral.gov. We've got consumer tips. We've got identity protection tips.
Yeah, I saw I have a copy of your book, Consumer. It's a terrific book. It's really.
Thanks.
So
we think it's very useful for
I
consumers.
encourage people to look at that one. You've had a very long and distinguished career, and I think you represented our district actually for many
Certainly.
years, and you were, was it 28 years that you were?
I was in the House for 8, the Senate for 20, right?
And when you were in the legislature, you also were involved with judicial proceedings, and therefore a lot of legislation that you.
Yes, I was the chairman of the Judicial Proceedings Committee for 12 years, and we had jurisdiction over many of these issues.
Including, you also had, I know you were involved with gun control issues quite a bit.
Yes, the Firearms Safety Act of 2013 was something I was very proud of. I think we have one of the
Maryland
best.
is ahead of a lot of states on
Absolutely.
but if you were to pinpoint the thing that you're most concerned about for seniors, what would you say?
Well, I think financial security is the issue on which they're most vulnerable. I mean, obviously, we're concerned about physical abuse of seniors. But as I said before, because there have been so many instances of theft, of hacking, of personal identity information, all of us are vulnerable. And I mean, I think the working assumption for all of us ought to be somebody out there has my personal identification information, and they're going to try to use it to get money from me or from the businesses that I do business with, banks, credit card companies. So if you're on the phone with somebody, don't give them your birthday, your social security number. If you generate the call, if you're calling your bank, I think in those situations you can be pretty comfortable. But if somebody's calling you, your working assumption ought to be, this isn't the IRS, this isn't my bank, this isn't my credit card company, and I'm not telling them anything. Call them back. Say, okay, I'll call you back. I know the number for Bank of America.
That sounds like good advice. And I know that the banks are also, with this legislation a couple years ago, so that if somebody goes up to a window and asks for $10,000 and has somebody next to them, the banks are on guard there.
That should be a red flag for any bank teller, yes.
Well, thank you for coming in. There's a lot of things to be concerned about. You've given us some tips about what not to do.
Right.
And as I said, I think your website is terrific with that information that you provide.
Thanks a lot, Austin.
So thanks for coming in.
Great to be with you.